And the world is alive with the sound of Trekyards. The hills are alive.
Wow.
There you go.
There you go.
But I'm not gonna sing it because that would be ludicrous.
And painful.
Yeah. Trekyards. Ah, that was my voice. The hills are alive.
Wow.
There you go. That's it.
There you go.
But I'm not gonna. Yeah, we're still audio leveled.
Hey
Good,
guys,
good.
how's it going? Welcome to the chat. It's interesting because there's been a lot of interesting reaction to this online, even in this chat here. A lot of people are confused as to what we're talking about.
Which is fair enough.
It is fair enough. We wanted to be kind of vague with our thumbnail.
Well, I mean, it's the simple summary, which because we don't do clickbait. That's not the point. We had a thought, and this was a easy way of expressing it. You know, we can't put is Spock alive in Star Trek Picard if the Countdown comic is decanonized based on Paramount and CB. Like, it becomes convoluted. So hopefully you guys can join in. And we have, this isn't just throwing things out. We have a very distinct set of points and thoughts and things to delve into, and things to show. So I'm excited. We've been excited. Surprised by the people's negativity, but I mean, people are used to those clickbaity people, and we just want to have a good old discussion about it because you never know. We have thoughts.
Yes, and we'd love to hear your thoughts piled on top of our thoughts. Let us know. And a great way to do that is, of course, super chats.
Oh,
Samuel's gonna, I'm sure, share this around now.
Stuart, I can do that. I will be there for you and do that.
Yes. So super chats are a great way to put in your voice. What do you think about this? What we're going to talk about? We're interested to get it rolling, give you the points that we have. And if you guys want to be part of that and put in your 2 cents, 3 cents, 5 cents, maybe a dime, dollar, a good way to do that is super chats. Just hit the little money icon there and super chat your question or comment to us, and we will of course read it on screen and discuss anything you'd like to talk about in regards to this theory. So but we'll do that once Samuel gets back. Other great ways to help us, by all means, hit the Patreon link down below. Hit us up on Patreon. It's a monthly subscription service, and we would love to have you join us for that. It really helps us out. It's kind of the lifeblood of the channel. Google AdSense and YouTube is just ridiculous these days. It's going downhill constantly, but that's okay. That's fine. So you guys can help us out that way. We will get to all your questions and confusions in a second, but yeah. Once he's back. Now, guys, make sure you click the links down below as well. There's lots of links down in the description of every video. We have our Teespring store. You can get some cool Trekyards merchandise. You can also join us. Click the link down below for Eagle Moss. Takes you over to the Eagle Moss site, and you're going to be able to, get some money off your Eagle Moss orders. Just use the discount code Trekyards. We want to save you guys some money and help you out. So that's what we're here for. Lots of great ways to help out the channel if you check out the links down below. And another way, of course, is PayPal. I forgot to mention PayPal. The PayPal information is down below as well. Or head on over to trekyards.com and click the donate button. And that's another great way to help us out. So looking forward to hearing what you guys think about this. And we're going to get into the discussion now. So we got 2 super chats right off the hop, though. Bird of Prey 5 is here. $2. Sorry, Pago Prey 5. Sure, he's alive, but will we see him? I think not. Oh, total random reviews puts in $5 Canadian. Spock was alive last time we saw him on TNG. Even if you ignore the Countdown comics for 09 JJ Trek, there is no reason to believe he is not alive. Right.
Yeah, well, let me get a picture of Mr. Spock himself. The last time we saw him as an active participant in the story, he was obviously in Into Darkness, but I mean, that was filmed at his own home, I believe, and carefully and cheaply and simply. So, this is his last actual appearance in Star Trek 2009. And do you want to go into... We have to stop. There's a slight journey to get to the point here, guys. So, do you want to give us why we bring up 09 then? What happened in 09?
Well, everybody knows. I mean, the star was going supernova, and Spock, with the aid of a jellyfish, a ship, and some red matter. Yeah, really cool sound, I got to admit. Um, was going to stop it. Well, destroy it essentially by sucking it into a black hole to prevent the
But
destruction of the
not
Romulan
a
Empire.
time traveling black hole, because otherwise
No,
that would then kill something somewhere else in the universe. Although since the black hole didn't travel in space, then doesn't the supernova then travel back or forward in time somewhere and kill whoever was there? They never addressed that, did they? That if that since it did make it go back in time, should not there have been the supernova in pre-TOS two? Why would a supernova not travel back in time, but a spaceship would in a time travel supernova, a black hole? I didn't even think of that till right now. It's been over a decade.
The black hole didn't affect the supernova because it failed. It essentially sucked Spock and Narada through. The star still went supernova and destroyed Romulus, as we see in Star Trek Online.
Didn't it suck the supernova in after killing Romulus? Surely it was a success.
It wasn't, though.
Oh, so it did destroy half the galaxy.
It destroyed Romulus, at least. Yes.
But he still did the red matter after Romulus was destroyed. That's what I mean. Surely it did suck it in just after. Because I know that we do see it. He does launch it. He does do the like. It just didn't save Romulus.
Which makes no sense.
Wow.
So it didn't work. Jarzia puts in $5. Vulcans seem to live about 200 years, give or take a decade. Spock would be 169 by now. Not super old by Vulcan standards, but then he's also half human. Well, that's not what we're talking about, though, guys. Let's just lay it out because
yeah, well,
people are confused.
And Thruis says the star had already gone supernova before the jellyfish was built. Completely untrue. But yes, let me quote what Spock said. And so he's in the parallel timeline JJ verse, and he says 129 years from now, a star will explode and threaten to destroy the galaxy. A star went supernova, so they didn't say Hobus. That's where we were wrong on the other stream, but we'll get into that in a minute. Spock, he promised he'd save the planet, outfitted the fastest ship, the Jellyfish, using red matter. He would create a black hole to absorb the supernova. It was en route, and the unthinkable happened. The supernova destroyed Romulus. Nero, the last of the Roman Empire, was also said, which is weird. So there you go. So it was so as we know, the star will explode and threaten to destroy the entire galaxy. And also, the unthinkable happened, supernova destroyed Romulus.
Mm-hmm.
Which are different things. They had warning, but also it must have blown at the wrong time. But this, that's all the information they give. So it explicitly says, a star will explode. Doesn't even say which star. No. Although when they zoom past in the sequence, you do see Romulus, but only fans know it's Romulus. And that goes supernova, so it could be the Romulan star. But a supernova wouldn't be a destroyed galaxy, so this one's a special supernova, theoretically. Outfitted the fastest ship, Jellyfish. But also they've got Armada being built. Okay. And then the unthinkable happened, which means it supernovaed not on time. I guess. It supernovaed differently. Even though as Red Letter Media said, supernovas are a stage in the life cycle of a star. They take millions of years, which means it must have been an artificially created supernova, which means you can't have had warning, and then that goes. And this we're just saying with the 09 right now, because the three things we have referencing, because we're going to ignore Star Trek Online because that was never canon ever, so that's irrelevant. We have three things to look at, and each one have differing ways of presenting these events, because each were written at very different times with different agendas. We have 09, which was a popcorn movie for random people and Star Trek people if you want, and with J.J. Abrams doesn't care. You have the comic book, where they were, which is the Countdown comic, where they were able to expound upon things a lot, and they include canon elements and characters, and it's much more fleshed out. So you really have to read the Countdown comic to appreciate the movie as full. Then you have Star Trek Picard, which is obviously a decade later. Kurtzman's still in charge, but they're also trying to forge their own new direction, and none of the three accounts line up exactly.
True enough. I don't want to talk about 09 too much. I do want to get into the meat of our actual discussion. That way we can fall back on it later.
I mean, that's the start of it. I mean, that's all starts with 09, because it's only that little paragraph, but the whole destroy the galaxy, and it was a surprise that Romulus got destroyed. and the fact that he's on a single ship, the fastest ship, and it was built custom for this, but we don't know who by until Countdown. So so where do you want to go next then? Because that was the first chapter. Countdown. Okay.
First Countdown comic leading up to 09.
Yes.
And where we got B4, who is now Data, not resurrected per se, but returned, as he says. Resurrection implies a religious connotation, which is not there. So,
Captain Data. Yeah.
F. Yeah. And then, of course, we also have Picard, who is an ambassador at the time. Not an admiral, not retired. He is an ambassador. And, of course, the events of the comic unfold, which lead up to 09 with the creation of the Jellyfish by Geordi LaForge.
Who left Starfleet.
And... Yes.
That's important. So he's not part of Topomisha. He's not part of Starfleet. Separate side thing. And we know it's a Vulcan ship, not a Federation ship. So another thing doesn't connect.
Yep. So there's all these things in this Countdown comic that was canon. They said it was canon until they needed to not be canon, and now it's not canon anymore. And same with the new Picard Countdown comic. It's also called Countdown. Leading up to this, it's canon until they need it not to be. But that's irrelevant for this discussion, I think. So the basic crux that we have in this is that in Picard, is it the same events? No, it's clearly not. So was the 09 Prime Universe? Is Picard Prime Universe? Well, no, because it's in the Discovery verse, which...
But we're being technical here, Stuart. It is Prime, but, aesthetically, no. But, yeah. Because the only thing we see in 09 that links to our original timeline is a Kelvin which doesn't connect, doesn't fit, technology, look, size, and a limited amount of information from Spock, no visual design from the future, no sense of Starfleet, and information which is very specific in its scale and scope. So if that information, which is canon, doesn't line up with Picard information, then yes, what if they are separate universes? Because, there wasn't a Admiral Picard or Ambassador Picard talking to Spock at the start. Spock doesn't say Starfleet tried to help with their rescue. There's nothing. It's a very limited bit of information that's the canon. And what if that Spock just wasn't from our original timeline? Because now they're moving away from that potentially. Because if it was a different Spock from a different universe, come back to his earlier timeline, hence Kelvin, then it just unfolds as it does. That could be the gentle retcon with all this. Which would be exciting and fun.
Yeah, so the interesting thing is, since we have a retired Picard and Geordi's still in Starfleet constructing at Utopia Planitia, constructing the new fleet, and Data is dead, B4 is disassembled, and almost all of Data's knowledge was lost apparently from B4. That means that the events of Picard that we're watching right now are not the same as the Countdown lead up to Kelvin, and therefore is its own unique universe. And I know people are going to get bitchy and whiny and complain and say, well, it's now a comic book, it's side canon. But we're just trying to... They said it was canon for a while.
Yes. So this is one of those weird things. The idea of canon is always about the show or the movie on screen. But from day one, before the 09 movie was released, because Paramount was the sole producer of the 09 movie, they had the right to say what the producers say what is and what is not canon. Like the animated series being not canon, then bits of it being canonized, la. They explicitly said that 09, the Countdown comic, was canon. So up until Picard release, it was actual full canon for the 09 movie. But obviously, because it shows prime timeline stuff, you assume it's the canon of everything. So either that is still canon or it's decanonized. If the comic is decanonized, then all of the events and information in it are no longer correct, which means all of the motivation for Nero is no longer canon, and then all of the backstory which you need for 09 to make it a better movie is now all wiped clean. Now, yes, you could say pick and choose some and not others, but that's not how canon works. It either is or it isn't, all or not. And if they say Hobus did explode, fine. Well, then why not just take Spock out of the equation? I mean, the star explode. Why just take Spock out of the equation for prime time and have that be, if you're picking and choosing what you want to choose.
Yeah, well, let's make the clarification there that the Hobus star
yes.
is referenced specifically in the comics, the Countdown comics.
Yes.
So something different. It actually says that in combination with another star nearby, it's going to be more catastrophic in its scope. It's actually going to wipe out the entire Romulan Empire, not just Romulus. So again, a totally different take on what actually happened or was going to happen. Eugene puts in 500 rubles. Why even not Hobus supernova in the first place then?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But it's interesting because I've said all along. I know that they say I know they say Discovery's prime timeline. I get it. That's what the producers say. Therefore, it is. So yes, it is. Fine.
Well, and Mark Cannon says they can't declare a comic canon. Even Robert Orsi said he has no authority. I mean, you can. That's the whole point. The people who own the franchise say it's canon. It's like that's the point. It's like they say a book is canon or memo is canon. I mean, they it's their property. They own it. They can say what's canon. That's the point. Otherwise everything that becomes Museum is not. There's things that are, for better or for worse. That's why it's very careful not to say these books are canon or novels are canon.
Yeah. Well, Midnight's Ed said on Twitter that here we are in the Kelvinverse. No, we're definitely not, considering everything that's happened. And yes, one thing that I like to point out is parallels. The episode parallels. There are many different realities.
Yep.
So why not, if Picard lines up with Discovery, which it's going to, that's fine. It's its own thing. It's not the prime from, the one that we grew up with for TOS with Kirk and that Enterprise. It's not the same one. But considering that Enterprise was in Enterprise, in Amir Darkly, it was in, Trials and Tribulations in DS9. We had Scotty on board the Enterprise D and Relics, who confirmed that the original Constitution class bridge on the holodeck was the real Enterprise, not the one we see in. So anyway, this is a separate timeline altogether, even from the events of leading up to the Kelvin timeline. So there are multiple timeline streams. Spock might not have taken the jellyfish into the supernova in this specific Picard timeline. Is kind of what we're saying. Especially if you look at the events of the 09 comic, Countdown comic, because we don't have a Captain Data and we do not have an Ambassador Picard.
Yep. I mean, instantly the comic is rendered moot. Either way, because of Data, the comic is, irrespective to it being a Hobus star versus Romulan star, the Data subplot means the comic is now throwoutable. There's no point reading it because it is not correct anymore. And like I said, that means all the Nero backstory is gone, and all the information, all gone, which now means Star Trek Online, all of their, because they base their timeline stuff on what was canon at the time. The Hobus star went nova, and they built their entire their initial plot lines around that, because in their timeline Spock left, and they're, again, they're not canon, but they are both based on that, information. But now we can throw that canon out completely, and now all you have is the, if you have to. So now all we have is 09 and Picard, but the if the star. So now let's just look at the two, right? Let's just look at Picard versus 09 because that's the two bits of information we have, right?
Yeah.
So in Picard, they explicitly say the Romulans ask for help to evacuate. You're building an armada, not reusing old ships, building an armada. It then goes wonky, they get blowed up, and then they say no, won't save them. And yet, in 09, the unthinkable happens, destroys, and everyone gets killed, and, what's his name? Nero's wife chooses not to leave the planet, I guess. Like, she gets killed on Romulus, even though they had enough time to ask for help, build a fleet get destroyed, and then to be surprised it gets destroyed. That implies they had days, weeks, months, in which case they had days, weeks, months of evacuation. And if you have days, weeks, months of evacuation, how can you argue, just, you know what I mean? Like, if they have that much warning, and then the unthinkable happened, it got destroyed. Okay, fine. That's why in Countdown they explicitly say, to try and make that make more sense, it took many weeks.
Yeah.
Many weeks. And it was the Hobus and the star, and it was more it destroys the more it builds up. It was a specialist event. It wasn't actually a supernova in the sense. It was a supernova incident, but it was through the, more powerful. So
well,
I don't...
the 2009 comic says the Hobus system is one of the oldest in the galaxy, but its star is dying and will soon go supernova. A supernova unlike any the galaxy has ever seen.
Yes.
Just days ago, the star had a violent eruption that obliterated the nearest planet in a system. The star converted the planet's mass into energy, increasing its own power. More eruptions have occurred since then, and the effects are being felt beyond the Hobus system, increasing in intensity. And it was going to destroy the entire Romulan Empire, not just Romulus. So that's got to be for clarification here too, because in Picard it's just the supernova of the Romulan star.
Yes.
Which is different.
Yes, which is pretty close. On their doorstep, they know it's going on, they know it's happening, and one supernova isn't going to destroy any other planet except Romulus and Remus. So therefore, now we know that it has to only be the Romulan star. Only that goes supernova only destroys 2 planets. So now all they have to do is evacuate 2 planets. Only 2, and the rest of the Empire is around. So now you've broken it down from this massive Hobus event. Spock was wrong, because that's not... You know what I mean? His words in 09 don't make sense now. They never did, but, so why is this massive refugee crisis? Like, you've got 100, 200, 500 other worlds, and why didn't every single planet that was in Romulus space send ships to Romulus? You've got, 2 weeks to evacuate people. It takes, at Map Warp 9, a couple of days to go across Romulan space. You'd think. And if they have to send the fastest jellyfish, then they must send that last minute. Okay, great. So they've already evacuated most. Now, they said 900 million people, although it was stated at one other point there's 25 billion on Romulus. So my assumption is that they were evacuating the entire time, and there was a final 900 million left.
That they needed assistance with.
But that would seem weird. If they've already managed to evacuate 24 billion people, I don't think you need, that sounds stupid. And we need Starfleet to come to our rescue to say that final 900 million. It's like, because it sounds as if, because why would the Romulans be that feel, the context is that Romulans blame the Federation for not coming to their aid and not helping. If they've saved 24 billion people, I don't think you could be that pissed off at Earth for not saving the last 900 million. Like, that's almost all the population gone. I mean, that's, okay, it's a grudge, but you're not going to be, massive racial tensions for less than 1% of the population? No, it isn't, but, whatever. Small percentage.
Yeah.
And if there's only 900 million people on Romulus, which we know there isn't, because that's ridiculous, then you tell me that all the Roman Empire, which is not at risk, can't evacuate one planet, the home planet, with also star bases and, so these data points don't necessarily correspond. So what we're saying is that Countdown is thrown out. Star Trek 09's recounting of events doesn't line up well enough. Beyond the fact that Picard, they didn't mention, because you would think the devastating the devastating Romulan star's explosion, why wouldn't the news reporter say, to which was stopped by an artificial black hole reported by Ambassador Spock? That would be part of the story, because if that wasn't done, then it would keep going, theoretically, whatever. But it wasn't mentioned, as if it all ends with Picard, even though he was out of the equation at that point, and then Spock Spock took a ship and went, and that would be reported if it wasn't, and he knows Spock, he'd feel guilty about that, So I thought they didn't even mention Spock, and Spock's events don't correspond, and Countdown's now irrelevant. Well, to put all that together, yes, the Romulan star exploded and destroyed Romulus, but why is the Spock storyline still, it feels as if they just said, we love the Romulus destruction thing, but we want to jettison everything else. We're just going to take that idea and move forward. In which case,
Yeah.
You don't need to throw away Spock's character. He can just be from an alternate timeline, going to his own alternate past. It stopped connecting now.
Yeah, and one of the things I'd like to address too is the fact, again, Midnight's Edge said that this is welcome to the Kelvin universe with Picard. Again, no. I mean, if they confirm that Vulcan's destroyed in Picard, then okay, guess what? We're in that Kelvin timeline. Because they've gone back to different reality, different timeline, destroyed Vulcan. Vulcan won't be destroyed here because they say it's prime timeline, even though it's linked with Discovery. But again, I go back to parallels. There's so many different varying universes, different paths. Every decision has every decision creates a different reality. So I just choose to believe that Picard is not in the prime timeline, but definitely not in the Kelvin timeline or the lead up to the Kelvin timeline. It's its own thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. They'll never admit that, but yeah. It would have been cool to see B4 having become Data and be Captain of the Enterprise F and be an Odyssey class ship. That would have been all fantastic, but it just didn't happen. And the more we see of Picard, we'll find out more. I'm interested to see if there's any reference or anything that happens on Vulcan specifically in Picard as well.
And obviously, I wait until they say or don't say. I know you'd rather it be one way. I've still got to keep with the it's all canon because that's what I'm being thrown at. Yeah. And as we always say, them throwing that at us means that we can judge it as it comes. So they're creating these problems. If these three things are canon, explicitly canon, then they're at fault for not linking them, especially as Alex Kurtzman was one of the writers. I think he helped the comic book as well. So like I said, I think they've just taken bits and bobs, but,
And Yellowface is saying that, that Discovery is prime timeline. Well, I'm going to definitely disagree with you there. It is the anomalous thing in this whole thing. Discovery is the anomalous entity. Because as I said, we've seen prime timeline. We have 50 years of history for the prime timeline. And the original aesthetic shows up in TNG, Deep Space Nine, Enterprise. So it was shown to be exactly correct. Now, in the next episode of Picard, we're going to see the floating Discovery Enterprise instead of the original TOS Enterprise. So that automatically shifts Picard out of the prime timeline, despite what the producers say. Sorry. I mean, that's just the way it is. Discovery is the anomaly in this situation, not TOS.
And to reiterate, I can't backstep on that exactly because I know he's wrong technically, but right morally. You know what I mean? It's tricky.
Yeah. I'm going to stand by it. So
no, and we both talked about the Enterprise in the next episode because in the Eagle Moss book, not canon but licensed, it does explicitly say that the Enterprise went from being Cage Enterprise to being Discovery Enterprise to being Classic Enterprise. So what we see in the Flying Uphaul is one of the three variants of the Enterprise. It's just one of them. They just happen to pick their own rather than one of the other ones. So it's not replacing.
Still haven't seen the scene yet.
Yes.
If we have an original TOS Enterprise and then it goes to the Discovery one, I'll be like, hey, you know what? I'm willing to accept that a little bit better. But if it totally ignores the TOS Enterprise that's been around for 50 years, then it's clear it's its own timeline.
Well, it's a slap in the face.
Simple.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a slap in the face. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, we just don't think they should be afraid of parallel universes. I mean, if they can retroactively uncanonize things, that's always been the case. And so just now they've made this new show where they didn't think they were going to make it. They didn't think they were going to do this. Just have them say the Spock that came from the original timeline, that wasn't Picard timeline. Just say that was from a Parallels timeline. That makes 09 and the because that also fixes the Kelvin. The Kelvin is not a ship that fits into pre-TOS. You don't have a factory floor with cement blocks as an engineering or corridor. They're literally cement bricks on the Kelvin. Yeah. So it doesn't work in a realm possibility. No. So if they just retconned that, which they're welcome to do, that would fix the Kelvin verse. And then honestly, Stuart, we can look at those movies as a completely separate thing, which we've said since day one, and the enjoyment factor suddenly goes up because all of the problems are just bad writing rather than bad canon. Mm. And since JJ didn't actually try and maintain a visual look with TOS in the Kelvin, if he had, there's a harder argument there, but since he just wanted to do his own thing, it's hard. I mean, there's even a Kelvin phaser, which looks nothing. You know, it doesn't evolve at all from either phaser. So there's all these bits of effort that they went to not be appropriate. But like I said, in Picard, why don't they mention Spock? He's and Ambassador Spock, the most famous people in the history of the Federation,
risked his life or disappeared. It's not mentioned.
Exactly, yeah. And Ambassador Spock was lost with jellyfish, one of your friends. Yes, he was. But that was his movie, and that's just as important in the supernova as the supernova and Romulus, because that's how it stopped. The supernova was stopped by Spock and the red matter. They go together, and if Spock is correct in '09, it could destroy the galaxy. Then you would think the reporter would say, "And you failed, Picard, but Ambassador Spock closed up the supernova and saved the galaxy." It should all be part of the same conversation, especially if it's reminding the audience. And it might come back into play, but to leave this information when it's hugely important feels very disingenuous.
It's one way to put it, yeah. Benjamin Handelman puts in $5, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Orsi was a screenwriter, couldn't declare comics canon. This was an issue with Jerry Tyler's Voyager novels in the past. Yeah,
but the network did. The company did. He didn't.
Yep. Yep. They did declare it canon. The Canton comics. Yeah. So.
So if it's not canon, what's the point of having a comic pre? I mean, if you can just ignore the comic, well, did it make money? I don't know. Because if it's not canon, then it's not canon to the '09 movie, and then Nero's backstory isn't canon, and therefore you can read it as like something. But then again, Nero's backstory becomes even more flimsy, and you look at the '09 film just as it is, and it's a poorly written mess.
Yeah.
Benjamin, it's a visual reboot. You're too hung up on that. The problem is, Benjamin, it's not. They always say it's not. Again, the Eagle Moss book, which was licensed, written well after, they actively say it's not. The Discovery Prize is part of the evolution. They do the D7 book, again, same thing. They're talking about its evolution into the other D7. They are actively making it not a visual reboot. That's the most important thing. If they said it was a visual reboot, okay, fine. We can ignore it because it's just
happy with that.
Its own thing. But, yeah.
Eugene throws in 250 rubles. Thank you, Eugene. Or you can say that timeline of 40 years of Star Trek is different from Prime. Example, the original. Sure, the original one is the original timeline. This is the Prime timeline. I'll buy that. I'll buy that for $1.
There you go.
Absolutely. I like that, actually.
Yeah. I mean,
we've got the original timeline, the Prime timeline, which they insist is this one, which is fine, and then the Kelvin timeline. It's good. It's fine. I like that. But then TNG, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, and Enterprise all happened in the original timeline. Got to point that out. And Canadian Starships did say, well, what if they go back and visually remaster TOS to have the Disco Prize? Well,
they can try.
They're gonna, if they George Lucas it, they could try, but yeah.
I mean, it still doesn't fit the scale issue because you'd have to then rescale the battleship. Do you then place the D7 or D7 or the Romulan? You have to replace everything because it's a unified universe. You're then going to change the A scale, which then changes the B scale, which then changes the C and the D. The D is now 3 times as big, which now means the crew size is ridiculously small. Every time we see a shuttle leave the bay, it has to be different now. The shuttle, wow, this shuttle is now 3 decks. That's weird. Oh, but you only see the cockpit. It just breaks everything.
Maybe that's why in the dream sequence, the windows they were sitting at weren't 10 forward. Yeah. Because in the Discovery timeline, the Enterprise D 10 forward shifted over that way. Or it's bigger, because you look on the blueprints and it's not where that window is. But then again, it's just a dream, right? So who cares?
It's just funny to me that the Countdown comic was so integral, because that tells you the backstory of Nero, which you don't get in the movie. It tells you the Borg technology of the mining ship, which you don't get in the comic. Yes. It explains Spock, Ambi, for all these things. If that's still not canon, then Nero had a mining ship that could destroy a planet that has, why the mining ship was 10,000 kilometers and had big spikes. Like, once you decanonize it at all you can't still say, oh, but it was meant to be Borg. Yeah, but it's not said in the screen. There's nothing on the screen that shows it's a Borg ship. So if you remove the piece of source material, you can't still pick and choose. If you can pick and choose, then why can't I can pick and choose data? Oh wait, data's wrong. And if you can suddenly pick and choose everything, then why can't you pick and choose Spock from '09? Because that's the anomaly. That's the problem. If you're looking at anomalies, 09 is the anomaly, Discovery is the anomaly. Those things are anomalies to the grander whole. And so why are you trying to force feed people the anomalies when the simple answer is just make them alternate timelines? We have alternate timelines, mirror universe and such. And it would be just... So at this point, I mean, to be fair, if the Picard show is enough of a success, that might give them brand confidence enough to just kind of say, especially now it's all one license, which means that they can now make decisions, as in the people on top of the top. They can decide, because as I said, you can actively re-retcon anything. Yeah. You can, it's sad, but you can. Like in Doctor Who, they're retconning this thing about this invisible child, whatever. Like that's going to be a massive big retcon to the universe of Doctor Who. Well, that's a retcon that affects everything in the past. Shows can do that, unfortunately. That's why some shows going past their long life is kind of tricky, and that's why doing past events are tricky, because if you keep going to the future, you'd have to retcon it because it is the future.
And Yellowface says the simple answer is that it's the same timeline and it's all prime. LOL, you two are the only ones confused by it. Okay, then I guess all the all the special effects people that worked on Enterprise and Amir Darkly that had the USS Defiant from the TOS timeline were confused, and in Relics, the bridge was confused.
It means that you can fit 300 space shuttlecrafts inside a bay that can only fit 2, because if it's all canon, they're both TOS and Discovery are canon, so the same bay can fit 100 shuttles and only 2. The same ship can, survive an explosion of a torpedo, but also a torpedo can go through it in Star Trek 6. If it's all canon irrelevant of, then the Klingons had Cloak 100 years earlier, and then forgot about it, and then regained them again. You know what I mean? If you're saying that, I mean, and the Enterprise got bigger and then smaller and bigger again. Why did the Enterprise get bigger for 9 years and then get smaller again? Why would you refit and unrefit it? Why would the uniforms be different for whatever? Why would Picard shuttles be in whatever? All these things, these layers upon layers. So if it's all one big universe, okay, fine.
Well, Yellowface is now saying, learn the concept of in-universe. On-screen isn't in-universe. Wow.
I don't even know if that makes sense as a comment. I don't think that makes sense. It's a comment.
Yeah. I have nothing to say.
Very strange. Very strange.
That's one way to put it, yeah.
Avni Pad, the crew that defined in Infinite Darkly also wore unique insignia instead of the Delta. It's still fanon that each crew had different insignia. I mean, half of them did, half of them didn't. Because as we know, there was 2 memos. One that said, every ship has a different Delta. One that said, oh my god, what are you doing? They shouldn't have a Delta. And so half of them had unique ones. Half of them didn't, because it was a mess up. They did the wrong way around. So no, there are several. There's several crew members that have unique ones. There's several corpses when they visit another ship for half the episode. They have different unique ones. And as the Enterprise crew were keen to replicate TOS correctly, they said, well, yeah, each ship has a unique Delta. Like we've seen this, and this ship. We'll give them a unique Delta. I mean, both ways are true. You can take it either way, But no, it's canon for both. And obviously Enterprise makes it doubly canon because they had a unique insignia. So it's canon.
And they keep saying Eagle Moss is not canon. No, but
licensed.
It's CBS licensed, and they say that the Enterprise went from the Cage Enterprise that we saw at the beginning of that episode of Discovery, by the way. Classic, spikes on the Blizzards, the white hull. It went from that to the Discovery Enterprise and then back to the TOS. It actually says that in the book, and it's fully licensed by CBS, so it's pretty close.
Because why would CBS approve writing in a book that explicitly says this thing that they know are going to be bought by ship lovers, have built that have done magazines for all the ships that people are going to take as the definitive? This is your one ship magazine, and you're allowing them to write information that is wrong. Like, they approved that information well after season 2 came out. So, you know what I mean? If they approved it, and they have a lot more... I know John Vincent and Ben Robinson talk a lot. They're very, like... When they did the Daedalus class for the TOS one, massive back and forth to make the definitive TOS-looking Daedalus class. They had to approve... Because there was no... Like, they couldn't allow just the TOS miniature from Cisco's desk to go through as it is. That was too simple. It wouldn't sell. You know what I mean? So they had to legally get approved back and forth, the definitive one. And they did. and there you go. So there's an approval process, especially with those things, because they make miniatures. I mean, this is important stuff. So it's not canon, but it's licensed, and licensed well after these things have been designed. So if you want to change things in post, change them in post. Don't keep, don't keep adding onto the fire. Otherwise, they're just digging into a hole. I mean, yes, obviously one side of the government, one side of the company cannot know what the other side is doing, but it's all John Van Sitter's. Like, he approves that, it's all,
No, I agree that license doesn't necessarily mean canon.
Yeah.
Alpha canon is basically what's seen on screen.
Yeah.
But the N23 says in the motion picture, there's no Enterprise NX on the wall of the ships of different Enterprises. There also wasn't in the conference room of the Enterprise D.
Because it wasn't a Federation Enterprise NX-01, it was the Starfleet NX-01. So they were Federation starships. They wanted to have their Starfleet. I mean, that's easy. It's a weird choice, but it's easy. There's an easy out for that.
John Wickham says, Trekyards, do you guys feel that your strict dissection of canon robs you of some of your enjoyment of just watching and being thankful after 50 plus years we're still getting new Trek? No, absolutely not. I really enjoy new Trek. I enjoy Discovery. I get excited when there's a Discovery episode coming out. I'm super excited for Picard, even though it's going to visually tie into Discovery. It does not take away my enjoyment at all.
Well, I enjoy it more because we get to have these debates and try and work things around. And the fact is, if the audience was complacent in season 1, we would never have got a better season 2. You know what I mean?
And the D7 fixed.
Yeah, I mean, are you guys telling me you wanted them to retcon all Klingon ships and Klingons look like that design aesthetic? I mean, if people don't express their opinion to try and keep it on track, they don't hear the noise. I mean, Enterprise season 4 was a response to fan feedback. Season 3 was a response to fan feedback. I mean, TNG was a response to fan feedback. Or at least the ones that's constructive. So if we just sat back and enjoyed, then the content can't improve because this is how things get better. You learn, but also you hear feedback. You make a movie, the reviews come out, they say this didn't work, and so the next movie you say, well, let's try and fix what didn't work. If you just keep working along the same pattern, I mean, remember, Star Trek isn't just popcorn, isn't just, okay, moving on. It's a massive universe that is one of the biggest fandoms and the biggest universes ever made. And so the people worked on it for 40 years to try to keep it all contained. If we start ignoring everything and going beyond, then there's no point even discussing anything in the universe, because if it doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter. Then, like, I want to see, I want to see TNG shuttles in Discovery then, because who the fuck cares? Like, it doesn't matter. If you have Discovery shuttles in Picard, then why can't we see, Romulan shuttles, and why can't we see Tailright shuttles, and why can't we see this, and why can't we see the 2S Connie fly around in Picard? Fuck it. Doesn't matter. Once you start building these who cares moments, then it starts devolving, and if there's no canon to look at, then it devolves. It devolves so far, and then the fandom just becomes a popcorn, who cares, doesn't matter, look at it, move on, and there's no depth. The reason the Marvel films got so big, Endgame works because of the canon they built. It was, 27 films of canon. All the references, all the reminders, all the things that happen, all the character stuff, that was because of canon. And now it's going to get very unwieldy because there's more and more films. But remember the days when we had one film, and they were limited, they were small, they're popcorny. Legacy is not there. And look at Marvel. Canon is one of the most important things in any franchise. Why did the new Star Wars 3 films have the old characters? Because of the canon. They wanted to use the nostalgia, wanted to use the universe. Well, if canon doesn't matter, don't use them, don't care, whatever. This is the core of any universe, is its canon, is its universe. It's the core of it.
That was an awesome speech.
Thanks.
No, that was good. I like that.
I've given it before, unfortunately, which is sad.
Well, yeah, you're going to give it again, too.
Yeah.
Many times.
Oh,
Benjamin
hold on.
Handelman.
Because you've got your right at the bottom there. Colin Barrett. Canon has split. There's Paramount Canon, CBS Canon. There's no... they're clear different. Nope, it's now one canon now because they own the same license. So there's no longer a split. And there's two universes, but no, it all owns the same thing. Mm-hmm. Sorry, now your thing.
Benjamin Handelman, $5. Thank you very much. The Starfleet Technical Manual in the 70s was licensed and later contracted. Hundreds of novels the same, not canon. True. I'm not debating that. um, let's see, what do we got here?
Because if we don't expect quality, if we don't ask for quality content, they'll go as bad quality content. You know, part of expecting more and wanting more is they give us more. Do you really just want basic, simple, easy stories that don't challenge, aren't well written? It's like, don't we want the best? I mean, look at some of the best shows on TV. Like, they're written by good writers and good. Like, you think, damn, that was good. Like, don't you want that from the Star Trek? Or do you just want basic, okay stuff? Well, it's all part of the same thing. You have to expect high and you get high, and you have to call them out for bad decisions so they get better. And if you just take what they give you, I mean, then they can just give you whatever they want. They can give you scraps. They can give you bad things. You know, it's remarkable people are okay with just watching and not even thinking about it. I mean, I know we're into it more than most. I guess most Trek fans are, but Trek is known for its canonness, for its universal. Obviously, these aren't the people that watch Trekyards. You know, if you don't care about the universe in any way beyond it's a story of people who I like, the Trekyards channel is not for you, obviously, because you don't care. But the people who worked on the show did care. All of them, in the art departments especially, for many, many years.
And they did a good job of making things make sense and keeping it tied together in that canon. Again, I'm going to bring up In a Mirror Darkly when they created the bridge for the USS Defiant. Attention to detail. It looked exactly like the TOS bridge, better lit, filmed nicely. It looked beautiful. Same with the ship, the CGI ship, the Defiant TOS Connie looked great. Relics, the holodeck, the TOS bridge, perfect. You know, and Trials and Tribulations, they went to a lot of work. They built a new Enterprise, a TOS Enterprise model, the K7 station. They built these large models because they wanted it to, and accuracy was important. You had people like Doug Drexler, Michael and Denise Okuda working on that, and they care about that kind of thing, and it shows. And it tied it all together. It made it feel like one whole thing. Jarzia, though, throws in $10 real quick, just for Samuel. Line the truth down. Couldn't agree more. There you
go. 2 comments. Benjamin, I'm all for calling out bad stuff, calling for the mistakes, but it doesn't make license work canon. Benjamin, we've clarified each time what we meant about license not. We've said that each time, so you obviously people can't necessarily listen to the entire thing. That's fine, but go back. We're very, very, very clear with what we were saying. And Avenue Pad, the attention to detail ignored that the TOS Defiant crew wore Delta insignia. Again, they did. Different ships did sometimes and didn't other times. They just chose to do one way around. Both are canon, both are there. You know, because there's also a thing.
It's a slight thing compared to the whole uniform and the whole bridge and the whole ship.
Yes.
Eugene, 250 rubles. I would be glad to get Grandma's peach tea as long as it is tea. The same goes for Star Trek.
Yeah.
117 likes. Come on, guys. We got 277 people here. You probably don't all agree with us, but, you know, at least we're opening discussion. We want to hear your thoughts. Super chat. Make sure you guys hit that like button. But we would love to read your thoughts on this, so feel free to super chat and help us out if you can.
And Benjamin says, the CBS said different badges are costume error. They were, in retrospect, but still makes them canon, weirdly. You know, an Enterprise, you know, that's the thing, things can go back and retcon other things. That's why time travel is tricky. You know, the fact that Defiant has them means that Defiant does have them. But obviously you can retcon that out, just like we do retcon out the D7 Katinga, well, the Katinga model in Enterprise. And I'm fine with something that small, because that Katinga is just a visual goof, gone. So I'm fine with saying every Delta is wrong. Okay, fine. It's a very, very small thing, and Discovery, and you know, showing us the Delta is always the Delta. It's not it's not the Enterprise. It's just the Delta. Okay, that's a very small thing in the grand scheme. But having holograms in pre-TOS, and then not for 200 years, and then back in Picard, it's like there are bigger things, you know.
And Eugene wanted me to clarify, as in Grandma's peach tea equals piss from Yeah, Justice League.
But fundamentally, the question is, they said Countdown was canon. It can't be by any stretch of the imagination now, unless it's still canon for the JJ09 film. If Countdown is still what they want to be canon for their film, then the future segment can't be the Picard future segment. If they're uncanonizing Countdown, which again, they explicitly said canon at the time, if they're uncanonizing it, then all of the backstory stuff goes away, and all we have is Spock's little bit of information, which is not a lot, doesn't make a lot of sense, because they tell us the Hobus Star in the Countdown, and they give us explanation as to why, and you can imagine that the stuff in the Countdown comic about the star especially, that was thought up for the movie, because the Countdown comic was released before the movie.
Yeah.
So the movie was written, the Countdown comic was used to flesh out the movie with concepts they couldn't put in the movie. So that was the intended storyline, was the Hobus Star. That was the intended, that wasn't done 2 years later. That was a clever let's fill it with the information people need to read. That was the intention, was it, for it to be that star? Because the time that this is an empire. What gets me fundamentally is this is a massive empire. Yeah. If the sun is, oh my god, it's going to supernova, we've got 1 day till it gets us, then the rescue fleet in Picard doesn't make sense. If you've got 6 months for the rescue fleet, then you've got 6 months to rescue people on Romulus, and the entire Romulan Empire can come to your rescue, and you can evacuate Romulus. I mean, I know in one thing they were saying that the Romulans chose to stay on the planet last minute, they didn't believe it. But I mean, what ridiculousness is that? I mean, that's beyond laughable. Of course, I'd evacuate the Senate first. Right, the Senate's gone. Great, the Senate's gone. And then the Senate's families. Okay, great. And then the higher up in military. And then, you start, okay, maybe the poor civilians are there. But, it trickles down. They haven't linked it all together. And we might hear, I'm sure we're going to see more.
Yeah.
Well,
Q Square said, wait, when did this start? It started 50 minutes ago. So you need to go back and rewatch. Yeah, and no, I just want to go back to something that was asked earlier. I still really enjoy Picard. Everything we've seen so far. I'm looking forward to the rest. I'm looking forward to even Discovery Season 3. Not quite as much, but I do get excited when I just love new Star Trek being on TV. The fact that it's back, it's still here after 50 years, that's really important to me. So It's one of the reasons we have Trekyards.
Pretty much.
We want to show our love for the franchise by creating these discussions and these opening up new avenues of thought for other fans out there that might not look into it as deeply as we do. So I just love Trek. That's all I can say. Let's see. Well, people don't. So anyway, guys, 280 of you here. Make sure you hit that like button. Let's get those likes up. And if you have a question or comment or something you want to talk about specifically in this regard, whether it be Spock's Countdown appearance in 09, whether you think this is the Kelvin universe, anything about Discovery visually, please put a comment in Super Chat, and we'll read it and talk about it and discuss it, because we love doing that kind of thing. We love engaging with you guys. So wouldn't the Romulan government enforce the evacuation? I would think so, yes. But you got to think the Romulan Empire is huge. You would have tons of ships that could aid in that rescue. So I don't know why they needed Starfleet specifically to build this huge fleet.
And you can also imagine that, yes, a lot of ships were destroyed in the Dominion War, although the Romulans came right at the end, so their losses were nothing compared to Earth or the Klingon Empire.
Yeah.
But everyone's going to start rebuilding ships after the war because they need to rebuild their ships. So they're going to really pump up ship production. So the post-war is the time you build the most ships. And they build big ships. And, Galaxy class with evacuation limit is like 10,000. It's because if all you have to do is warp to the nearest system, even runabouts, shuttles can still ferry dozens of people if you stretch life support. I'm sure some enterprising people in Romulus say, well, I'll be the shuttle rescue system. I've got 15 shuttles in my arsenal, and they're going back every single day for months. You know. But I hopefully we'll get a Spock reference. I mean, like I said, he is not alive. That you know, this is all about working out how they all connect because they all contradict each other at this point. So no, he is. You know, he was in the prime timeline. He went back in time to an alternate timeline. The Kelvin is prime, even though it doesn't conform in any way, shape, or form. Whatever, fine. And so Spock's in the Kelvin timeline. Great, fine. Although Nero never had a wife or anything like that jazz, unwhatevered. And we need to hear more about the supernova because it you know, threatened to destroy the galaxy. Why would the supernova? And obviously it was you know, surely they'd know that. I mean, because remember in Discovery, Stuart, which is canon prime, you can detect a cloaked Klingon ship from inside your space, inside their space, like a day away at warp. So you can detect things, and also you can detect things from across the galaxy, red signals. So why couldn't Starfleet detect that the Romulan sun was going to go supernova for its 10 million year lead up? And if they could...
Well,
sorry.
Yeah, I think the whole supernova thing creeping up on them, as you said earlier, wasn't a natural occurrence. It was definitely something that was orchestrated by someone, some element that wanted to get rid of the Romulans or cause this... to destabilize the quadrant, something like that. So that's why it was quick, and that's also why it was going to destroy a portion of the galaxy. Somebody mentioned earlier in the chat that when the novelization of 09, it went from destroying the entire galaxy to a part of the galaxy, which makes a lot more sense. But apparently the explosion was supposed to travel through subspace or something, and that's one of the reasons that it would be so destructive.
But obviously books and comics aren't canon, so that's not in the movie, so that's not canon.
Exactly.
This is the problem. Like the movie is very simple and explicit, so they better explain, you know, how the supernova, you know, because it must have been a plan by somebody. But then how did Picard have a time to build a fleet? Because it wasn't like a getting a fleet; it was building a fleet, so it wasn't instant. And I really hate Spock's line. Then the unthinkable happened. Romulus was destroyed. It's like, but it wasn't unthinkable. It's their sun. That's the most thinkable thing. That's the first thing that's going to happen. It's going to go supernova within the next 2 months, and it gets. What sort of line is that?
Well, and you got to think too. If this is the weird thing, because in the Countdown comics, it's the Hobus star. It's not the Romulan star for their system. So yeah, Spock takes care of this really old Hobus star with a black hole, sucks it in, it's gone. Fine. The supernova doesn't hurt anybody. If it was the Romulan star, you use red matter, create a black hole, suck their star into a black hole, their planet's fucked anyway. It's gonna stop its orbit. It's going to be cold. The planet's dead regardless. So either way, they lose.
This is true.
So
they might get an extra couple of days of heat as the light travels.
But it being another star makes the 09 film a lot more sense.
Does Spock want to kill all the Romulans?
Probably subconsciously, and the Romulans just think, hey, it's a great plan. We'll just get rid of that supernova thing. And
I mean, I guess, if you're being literal here, right? Well, again, it wasn't said in the movie that Vulcans built jellyfish, but it wasn't said. No one knows who built jellyfish. Because you can't, Countdown's not canon, so no one knows who built jellyfish. They did not say, but we only saw Vulcans, so we assume Vulcans, but Vulcan could be whatever. They didn't want to invent new uniforms. That's fine, and they already had the costumes and makeup, whatever, and the sets because cheap. So they knew the star was gonna go kablooey, right?
Kablooey.
And this is all we know. So this is the full on. So this is what happened linearly in canon now, right? They knew the star was going to blow up. The Romulans asked for help. Picard made the Federation say yes, and they started building a fleet at Utopia Planitia. Now, people just said in the chat, we can't take the new Countdown comics, Picard comics as canon, because they're not canon. So Geordi, in the comics, say he's building the thing, but now we're not taking that as canon? This is what I mean. They said that the first Countdown comic was canon, and they're also telling us that this new comic Countdown is canon, but now telling us...
Until they conveniently don't want it to be. But it's their decision. Yeah.
But if they can't make comics canon, then we're introduced the Vulcans, but they're not canon. That's not canon, and their backstory's not canon. Picard's not canon. So they see what I mean. Once they start setting these weird barriers, So that's not, we're not going to do anything with that comic 'cause it's not canon either. So we know that they asked for help, they started building a fleet, and then for some alternate reason, these robots destroyed Planitia, destroying the fleet. Even though we do see a fleet in orbit of Mars, implying they might have destroyed a fleet also in orbit, but we'll assume the entire fleet. That's the context we get. But it's implied Picard goes anyway to do something, but maybe not. We don't know yet. And then Spock, at the very last minute, once the star explodes, and in the, I guess, minutes before hours, days, I mean, the fastest ship available, and even at warp 9.99999, you can't get to Romulus for a couple of days. So I guess he goes straight away after the fleet gets destroyed. Sure, okay, so fleet gets destroyed, Spock goes to Romulus with red matter, plan B. Then, coincidentally, the sun explodes as he's in the system, because it just exploded Romulus, and he watches Romulus get destroyed. Then he thinks, I'll stop it, and I'll send the red matter in, and then sucks it in. But I love that point, yeah, if you suck up the sun, and who's to say the black hole's even going to go away? It's an untested material. You could suck Romulus in and destroy Romulus, and then you just destroy Romulus. And why isn't he going with the Federation people? Why is he just going himself? Why is he the best? Why is he the best pilot? He's 140 something. His dad was senile, close to this. But that's the actual canon of what we get so far. But no other ships go with him. And why at that point Spock even bother going? Like, and if he's that close, he can't warp away, and or at that point, just do a slingshot on the supernova. just do a warp jump. I'm sure there's enough power in a supernova as well.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Well, David Bessig puts in $5.
Hey.
Hey, sorry I'm late. I thought the 2009 movie said the star blew up in 2409,
Nope.
and Picard takes place in 2399. I'm confused.
Nope, 24/9 so.
Okay.
No, the thing blows up. Way different. 2387.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Jarazia puts in $5 Canadian. I can buy the Romulans needing help to evacuate in time, but if Starfleet had time to build a fleet first, the Romulans could evacuate themselves. Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Even if they're triple timing it at Utopia Planitia and trying to get ships out triple fast, it still would take a while. John Wickham says, you guys are the most genuine Trek fans on here. You can see the passion oozing from you two. Oh, sorry. I thought I got that fixed. Joshua Clark, $3.99. The whole destruction of Romulus bugs me greatly. And Q Squared puts in $2. Black hole of equal mass is okay. Orbit. Cold, though. Yeah, I mean, if the black hole stays there, it's the same as this. I guess. Romulan would start to circle in, though. But anyway.
And Dan23 says, according to the prequel comic Star Trek Countdown, issue number 3, the Jellyfish was a prototype vessel built to withstand unstable atmospheres. It was designed, the original pilot was Geordie Ford, but it's not canon, Dan, so it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Yep. It's not canon. That doesn't make any difference.
Subscribe to this channel says, if you have multiple universes, can't you have all these actions-oriented popcorn Star Trek shows if you want, but have a prime canon one as well? It's simple. Yes. Just CBS. Just tell us it's a visual reboot of the prime timeline. We'd be like, oh, you did a good job. I like the take.
But can we have some actual original Trek, please?
Yeah.
Because I'm more excited for that.
Yeah. But don't tell us it's prime and it force us to visually accept something that visually is not correct and say, oh, well, you're just... This is the way it is now.
This is why we said don't include anything from Discovery and Picard. Picard's your fresh start. Like, no one's bitching about holograms in Picard. Or the fact they got little flying drones everywhere because they were in Discovery. Mm-hmm. But we ignored Discovery. Okay, they're new in Picard. Sure, they've got drones now. Fine, they developed in the last 20 years. Whatever. Yeah, I mean, and again, we only got one information, but remember, Picard episode 1 was their one chance to grab people, right? And it was full of exposition, full of information. So their description of the supernova, that was the thing to get people, because you can't be expected to watch episode 2, 3, and 4 if that fails. You know what I mean? That is your one chance. And so they said when they say build the fleet, they mean build they don't mean retrofit. building takes months. And, as Red Letter Media pointed out, which obviously the writers don't realise, Utopia Planitia is like the Starfleet construction facility. It's like one of the central ones. But the Federation is hundreds of worlds with their own spaceships. And also their independent choice to help Romulus or not. And many shipyards with many ships being built.
There's multiple shipyards, like giant scale shipyards, not just Utopia Planitia. It's just one of many.
Yeah.
So why weren't more pumping out ships that were closer to Romulus? Why at Earth?
Yeah, that's true.
Again, you've got so many worlds in the Federation that are a lot closer to the Romulan border that would probably have shipyards.
Because wouldn't it be easy to spread the load, to have every shipyard like move half its division to build ships?
Yep, you could. Yeah.
Why would you dedicate
take the pressure off? Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, they dedicate an entire planet and the closest one and its dedicated Starfleet one. But it's like, I mean, the Andorians could send a rescue fleet too. They're allowed to. They have their own ships. They have their own armada, like to some extent, a fleet. I mean, not everything. The Federation is not Starfleet. Starfleet is not the Federation. The Starfleet is the unified force of everyone. But you have your own ships. You know, and it's not the same. There's hundreds of worlds, and why would they all say no to Romulus? It's like only Earth was at war with, well, Earth, Andoria, Tella, Prime, and one of only 4 planets. Well, thank you. Yeah, only those were at war with Romulus and Romulan War. So when the lady in the interview said, "Are one of our oldest enemies," only 5 planets, the entire 1,000 other planets, have never had a war with Romulus, unless they have, but that's a separate thing. So 99.99% of the Federation have never been at war with Romulus. So why is there so much anti-Romulan sentiment? Since they chose to help the Federation in the war against the Dominion, that was a unified thing.
And didn't at the end of Nemesis, Riker was going to the Titan to head up the peacekeeping force that was going to Romulus because Romulus wanted to make peace.
Yep. So now they want to talk peace because the whole Senate got killed and new people in charge. So why would someone on the random planet number 43, why would they hate Romulus? They have no reason to. So why would they vote to subdue? Like it is so small thinking. They're forcing current politics in a world where it's like saying the UN hates Albert. No, it wasn't on. I don't know. There's so few countries in the world to randomly pick on that aren't, I don't know. The entire UN hates America.
The UN hates Australia, so they don't want to send any help for the fires, the wildfires.
Yeah, but then you realise, but the UK likes Australia, and so does France, and and it's like, I mean, why would the small why would the small European country hate Australia? I mean, we're all so advanced at this point that just because the Starfleet Council says we won't send Starfleet ships, I mean, the president of Andorra can say, yeah, but I'm just going to send 15 ships. Like, we can save, like, 50,000, and I can warp there and back in 5 days, and we've still got 2 months. I mean, why do you have to build one big armada? Why can't you send small ships? I mean, especially if you only have to relocate them to a nearby Romulan planet. Once you get to the system, back and forth treks, I mean, you're not going to warp to and from, like, you're going to stay in their space, so you can just warp to the, like, once you're there, you can do dozens of trips. I mean,
you can even do relay warps. Like, have a ship waiting for you. One ship warps from Romulus to the sector,
smaller ones.
Drops,
to a bigger one.
Swaps people out. They go back. Then the other ship heads out.
Yeah.
Renee Monkeo puts in. I don't know what that is exactly, but thank you. What if Romulan society socioeconomic collapse?
Well, we need to hear that because that has not been established yet.
Yeah.
As far as we know, it just got blowed up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, maybe, but we don't know.
And it's in 2 pounds. Explosion impeded singularity drives Rami ships. Explosion impeded.
But I mean, there's still warp drives though, because they're not singularity. Because dystopian guy, I like the thought, but
singular.
Yeah.
They're singular. They're powered by a singularity, a small singularity that they create artificial.
Yeah.
I just wrote a script on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still a warp drive. It's still same.
It's still warp drive, and if you can't
Yeah.
use warp drive, then how does Spock get to the system, and why would he think he could get into the system? Why would Picard think again? Like if super, you know what I mean? And then if warp was stopped by the supernova, then Spock getting to the system would know it's a one-way trip, and that you think that would be in his performance somewhere. And also,
Yeah.
Edward Fairhand says, "Wait, the '09 comic countdown aren't canon anymore. Please, can someone explain? See what I mean? People, that was what was said. You know."
Yeah.
But Cell Processing asks, did Spock promise to help the Romulans after Starfleet dropped the ball? I mean, you've got to assume so, because they're very radically different plans. One is, I will destroy the sun / supernova with a big black hole, versus I will say, like, they're different plans. Because if one works, you don't need the other one necessarily, but you do, obviously, because it kills everyone.
Yeah.
But, oh, dear me.
Eugene throws in 250 rubles. Thank you very much, Eugene. Maybe it's a prime time. Maybe it is prime timeline, as in Terra Prime. Jarvis puts in $2 Canadian. There's also private ships like Cassidy Yates, Exosa.
Yeah. I mean, because wouldn't people be bartering their way off the planet? Wouldn't, like, Ferengi? I mean, couldn't you imagine Ferengi would say...
Ferengi would have a huge amount of ships there. Like, we'll gladly take you.
Yeah. I mean, we want 15... I mean, come on, Rom. I mean, Rom, Engineer Grand Nagus, they helped end the war. He's a more balanced people. He'd say, I mean, the Romans are in danger. I know. I mean, can you pay us 50,000 Copper Platinum? Yeah, we're all going to die otherwise. Okay. Decoras, go. We'll send the merchant fleet. Guess what? With big cargo bays full of space. I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't even, like, it's such a weird point in the timeline. I would not even blink and react to this, Stuart, depending on what you think. If they had said in dialogue, in this one, that, they asked Chancellor Martok for help and he sent a fleet of ships to help, like, would you bat an eyelid if they said that the Klingons actively tried to evacuate? Would you think anything weird of that at that point?
Probably. There's still a lot of bad blood, I think, between the Romulans and the Klingons. We see it with Worf, even in TNG, whenever the Romulans show up. He's very... and he was raised on Earth as Federation... well, yeah, I think there's... it's hard to say. It's hard to say. I just think it would seem a little odd to me. Yes.
Because I think they would still ask for help from the Klingons. Like, Klingon versus... especially if it's Martok is still Chancellor.
Guys, the Treaty of 2267, go read the fine print. That didn't get expired. It says, if we ever need your assistance. It's super fine print, though. You're going to need like a super strong microscope to read
Quantum magnifying glass.
Quantum everything.
I mean, I don't mean like they would build 10,000 ships. I mean, they would send like 15 Negvars and say, we want the Shinzon cloaking tech. You know what I mean? Like, I can see them doing it as very much we want something in return, and the Romans will say...
Then it just becomes extortion at some point. And since they're Federation, they're allied with the Federation...
Well, we don't know that yet.
Like,
we don't know that yet. They haven't set that up yet.
I don't know how I feel about that. Q squared though puts in $5. Maybe 12 billion Romulans, and they got all the help they could. Hired Ferengi, but 900 million lives were lost that couldn't have been if not for Starfleet backing out. That wouldn't have been. Yeah.
But the thing is, though, is that the fleet got destroyed, and it wasn't Starfleet's fault. And if the supernova then happened randomly, what if they couldn't build ships in time? Like, the fleet it wasn't stopped, it was destroyed. And yes, the sentiment could be we didn't try and build another fleet, but clearly there was not enough time to build a second fleet. Otherwise, again, you're looking at what, a year to build the fleet, and then, we've got another year to build a second fleet. Like, if we've got to build a second fleet from scratch of the same level, then Hobus had 2 years of time. Why don't they, like, if you start creating these time progressions, then yes, they've evacuated everyone. These aren't problems if you keep adding time. Hobus has to be quick, instant, and the fleet can't be built, has to be altered, and that's where the Discovery thing, the ships kind of worked in a very small sense. Like, we pulled ships from the museums out, not mothball, because those ships are long since mothball. Like, those are museum ships, they're not mothball. I hate that with a passion. They are museum ships, because I mean, I love the idea of a space museum in the Federation where every ship from every era exists. One was saved from every generation because you can just fly there.
They talk about that in novels and everything. It's always mentioned, the Starfleet Museum where you tour the ships.
And I mean, how amazing would that be for fans if they said in dialogue, they pulled every ship out of every museum, and then you cut to a fleet shot, and it's every effing ship from every era flying in unison, because it's the museum ships refitted slightly. I mean, that you're selling the people this vision of the canon, including Discovery ships. You get to include them looking 8 times the size. You know, the Discovery Enterprise with the classic Enterprise, it's like massive. It's like, you know, like that's a missed opportunity there. Museum ships.
The Kelvin Enterprise beside a Galaxy class are same size.
Yeah. And then the windows, it's like, those windows don't look the same.
Bird of Prey 5 puts in $2. Someone go in the wormhole and beg Cisco for help.
Yeah.
Yes. I like that.
So I like when we go into positive, like trying to fix it for them. You know, we point out the problems, and now we're trying to like make it make sense. But it is tricky. They put themselves in a weird situation that we're not forcing them into. That they've had how many months, years to try and fit it all together, and all from the first episode already.
We get no sense of timeline. No, like maybe we will get clarification on that, but there's no sense of how urgently this fleet needed to be assembled. How long did it take to build that fleet that we did see in that one quick scene? We get no sense of time, unfortunately, and that would be very beneficial in this discussion.
It's weird. I mean, obviously we're gonna get more. Because you also got to remember that the whole point about and again, we can't take the comics as canon. We've just been through that. Comics aren't canon. Doesn't matter what companies say, as people are forcing it. Blah blah blah. So therefore, I don't know who the Vulcans are, the Romulans are on his farm, even though they are in the comics, but we can't take them as canon. So they're not, they're random people, but they're indebted to Picard, which means he did do something active to help people.
And Bird of Prey 5 says that Trekyards in the Picard comics, it was 4 or 5 years that they had time to evacuate. Just send flotillas of ships out there.
Because it takes days to walk between locations in your own empire.
You don't need to build new ones. Just, and like I said, do the relay thing. Have ships at the border that will take the people to the nearest starbase, nearest planet in Federation space or whatever. And then have them drop them off, meet back at the border with the other ships that are ferrying people from Romulus to the meeting point.
Or
there's better ways to do it than build a goddamn whole new fleet.
Or just warp them to the ship planets in the neutral zone. I mean, if you need one planet, find a planet in the neutral zone, or just their own territory if you want, whichever. I mean, just enough galaxy classes. I mean, just dedicate the 6th. Remember in DS9 they have like the 6th fleet, the 5th fleet. Just say, right, the 6th fleet is going to go back to dry dock. They're going to rip out all of the internal rooms they don't need, therefore tripling the space. They're going to upgrade the life support system, which is the limitation factor of how many people can be on a ship, is just the life support. Do that. Takes a couple of months, if they've got 5 years, and then start sending things. And they can say, right, we can move 500,000 people a month. Okay, we've got 5 years. And then each year, they add new ships. Each 6 months, maybe they're building small ships, empty big ships. So you're moving people, because if they're moving people the entire time, like I just don't buy for one single second. They said, right, Romulus, I know we've got years, but we're not going to help you now. But in 3 years, when our fleet's ready, we'll start helping you. But
exactly,
no help for 3 years. They're like, no, don't worry, no help.
Can't you send the ships as they're built? No. We gotta build them and send them all nice and pretty in a nice line, make a fleet.
Yes.
And then we'll come.
Yep. For security reasons, because you might attack us. So
it's like playing Star Trek Armada. You build your fleet, you stack them all up, and you send them out to kill people.
Yep.
Or you can just launch them as they come out of.
No, 100%. I know exactly. I mean, that's another stupid point. They should be sending as soon as one's built, send it. And so if they've had months or years, and if they can build ships, then they should have already evacuated thousands, millions, and then the Romulans they can be pissed that they didn't save everyone, but they've already saved several million at that point. And come on, and then they also destroy the supernova with Spock. Be thankful to Spock for a bit too late, but I mean, and why is Nero pissed? Why didn't Nero get his wife off the planet if they had several years?
Well, you must have got off at least once. They had a kid, didn't they?
But do you know what I mean? Because if we're now so now Canon's not Canon, so we have no idea Nero's backstory. He has no backstory. Why didn't Nero just warp to Romulus and save his wife? Because the implication is it just happened. The star just happened. But then how are you building a fleet? You can't build a fleet. And if CBS are licensing this comic, say 5 years, that's the canon they're doing. Then why didn't Nero just go save his wife? Did he avoid Romulus for 5 years, knowing it was going to be destroyed? Did they keep a secret for 5 years and not evacuate? You see, this is why it's important. The Spock thing is just the tip of the iceberg of all these things not connecting anymore. Because guess what? They were written with very different reasons to exist. Now they'd be like, and just that one thing about Nero and the timelines doesn't. Oh God, it's so frustrating.
Well, Renee puts in another super chat, starting to suspect that Romulans aren't well liked. Yeah. And Q Squared puts in $2. If we look at real logistics, most Trek falls apart. Yeah, a lot of television, a lot of entertainment falls apart if you do that, unfortunately.
But this is why I hate that argument. Like, because old Trek did it, we can do it. Highest budget, most production value, most advanced, best cameras. If you can make mistakes from the 70s or 60s now, why haven't you learned from mistakes 70s or 60s now? And why are you allowing people to write poorly that you know is poorly? Like, if you know what I mean? It's like saying the 60s sets look cardboard, but then but they look cardboard, we can use a cardboard set. Oh no, we've got to make the sets better. Well, why don't you make the scripts better? You can't use an argument because they're making it now. That's why when you make the licensed Eaglemoss book that wrote it after season 1 Discovery, like, they made choices there. Like, that was choices that send a message. It's not, they made mistakes, they can make mistakes again. But they made mistakes after the other mistakes, so they haven't learned from mistakes, and they don't want to... Oi, oi, oi.
Yeah. Joshua Clark puts in $1.99. We see 709. Where's Chakotay?
At home with the kids?
Yeah.
There you go. And we're gonna see some dark stuff with those guys, and it's a shame. But so is Vulcan still intact? Yes.
Yeah. Roar Uplink says there's no proof the Kelvin timeline actually prevented the destruction of Romulus.
It wouldn't do, because they're different timelines. One does not move into the other.
Well, I think he means when Spock went back. But
yeah, pretty interesting.
So yeah, this has been a really awesome discussion. 307 people here. That is fantastic, guys. Good numbers. Everybody, make sure you hit that like button. It's a really simple thing you can do. Just click the thumbs up for us. Let's get the likes up on this video. And if anybody wants to say anything else, they want to super chat anything, feel free to do so. Or you can also send us a PayPal. All that stuff is down below in the description.
Did we get any PayPals today? We're pretty low on super chats, but
I haven't actually looked.
Yeah, but and guys, we don't rely on the super chats to survive. So I mean, we've only got a couple this today. So a few more would be great. No, we did not, but that's okay.
No, we didn't.
I'd love to see another $20. 300 of you here, so $20 sounds pretty easy, guys. 4 5s is enough. That's all. But I mean, all of these things we're saying, though, Stuart, we are saying in a way of, it's only episode 1. They've obviously uncanonized Countdown instantly. Okay, fine. They've put the 09 into confusion because the things don't quite connect. But the story is still to be told. We've heard so little of the story that I mean, I know we're going to see the fleet because we're going to see that there's flashbacks because they've done CG of showing the fleet. So I'm sure. My gut reaction. We're going to do predictions tomorrow, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I think we are. They're going to go into the details. I mean, again, Kurtzman was there. He helped write the first script. So if he thought at the time that someone helped destroy the star, he'll put that into this one, surely. So my assumption is someone destroyed the star, and that would be part of the story for this. And the Borg, with Borg tech, sure, easy. I mean, what's his name? Soren blew up a star. I mean, it's not that difficult. Just a little bit of trilithium. That's all. A little bit. I mean, to be fair, even Stuart, if you want to really, and this would be really reaching. But what if, Stuart, in Generations, as soon as Soren unlocks the data in the missile, they transmit it to a friend on Kronos, and then because the Klingons now have anti-sun blow up, they think, "Fuck it, I'm gonna kill Romulans." Beep beep. Oh shit. I'm Duran Duras. I just killed Romulus. Huh. Oh. Didn't think it would work. So I bet they're going to explain how it got blowed up. And we're going to see it, and we're going to see Picard and stuff. I mean, that all feels very natural. Because if you just abandon that and leave it also blank, it's like, if that's the entire catalyst for the plot.
Yeah. Yeah. Fleet Pass Swiftback puts in $4.99.
Yeah.
What's bugging me, Romulans and Starfleet were making inroads with each other after the Riemann incident. Why leave them behind?
Yeah.
Exactly, because they don't know what the hell's going on. The people that are writing this, apparently.
It's tricky.
I don't know if they watched anything.
I'm sure they watched certain things and ignored other things, like Lal. I mean, are they going to mention Lal or forget Data and Daughter? I mean,
I'm surprised she's not mentioned already, honestly.
But Jazia says, Trekyards, congrats on almost 500 new subs since Picard aired. Thank you, Jazia.
It's only 1 week.
Yeah, no.
Not even a week.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yep, no, I mean, we put out a lot of great content. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. There was a lot of time, effort, and thought to make the content, and we've already got a lot of views. So please go back and watch. And we do hope to do this for all 10 weeks, if I don't die from editing poisoning, if that makes sense.
And radiation from our cameras for filming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Matthew Fastini puts in $5, helping out. Keep up the great content. Thank you very much, Matthew. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Eugene, 500 rubles. I hope Spock won't be addressed at all. Let the character and actor be left at peace without any Kurtzman shenanigans. I kind of agree with that in a way.
But they'd have to mention him at least a little bit, because that was the entire point of his plot in the first one. Or maybe they kept Spock a secret, and Picard's like, I also lost Ambassador Spock.
But shh, don't tell anybody that.
Yes. I mean, it feels so strange to not... I mean, because also, they're going to get brownie points. Oh, do you know what they could do? Oh, you know what they could do?
Should you tell me now, or should we read 2 more Super Chats first?
I'm going to tell you now. Yeah. So, what they could do is a flashback to Patrick Stewart in his costume, and then he's on the bridge of the Verity or whatever ship, and someone says, "Sir, the ship incoming." It's Vulcan. On the view screen is Ethan Peck in old age Spock makeup. Captain.
And the jellyfish?
No, that hasn't been finished yet. Oh. Captain. And he's, because, I mean, Ethan Peck, he's a Spock. Or get Quinto, but he'd be more expensive. I mean, because you could have him play old Spock, even though he's babyface Spock. But I mean, you have a very clean, just to replicate the look of old Spock, like his wrinkles are. So normally when you age someone up, it's sort of like a fictional version of themselves. But to match the wrinkles of old Spock, I think they could do a better job. You know what I mean?
I don't want to see that though.
Really wouldn't that be really interesting though? Because then they could fix a few things, and I mean, it's a link to Discovery, but is it really? Because Ethan was great. Like, Mr. Peck was great. I met him twice. And I mean, I think that's, if you can put Spock in pre-TOS, you can put Spock in post-Nemesis.
Anything's possible.
Yeah, and which means Ethan Peck will play the youngest Spock and the oldest Spock. Yeah, he would have. Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, apart from the kid Spock, obviously the kid Spocks, but I mean, like, of adults.
Yeah, there's a lot of them actually. Yeah, you're right.
There's a few.
Squadra course.
What do you guys think?
$4.99. Trek made episodes about social issues. In my honest opinion, to make the whole series about one issue requires compromises that will hurt the story.
Yeah.
Yep. just the overarching story plots and threads that we see in Discovery and Picard now are hurting Star Trek, in my opinion. I like the episodic feel, but
Well,
you know,
it varies. You know, Enterprise was great. Season 3 was great. DS9 was great.
that's true.
It does vary. It just depends how you do it. You know, because as long as there's a distinct start and end point of your sub story, it should be. I mean, Discovery Season 2 was closer. You have the overarching, and you have the thing of this week, and you make it, you know, or a two-part if you want them.
Yeah, like episodic, but bookended by the main plot.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we said Picard episode 1 felt like 2 episodes. It should have been 2 episodes. It was so not rushed, but it was crammed, so you couldn't really.
Dense.
It was very dense. But I think because the Daj thing was not a red herring, but it wasn't the story. It was that was basically the prequel story in a sense. It was how do we get Picard back?
Well, Colin Barrett says, well, they forgot lore. Not necessarily. We might hear about lore still to come. It might be an important plot point.
Yeah, we think evil lore will be a legit thing. Yeah.
And Ronan Fahey, sorry if I said that wrong, €5. Arriving late, will rewatch, but curiosity peaked. Give me the 30-second €5 recap summary before you go. All right, so what's the quick summary, Samuel?
Do you want me to do a quick summary, Stuart?
Do it, quick. 5 seconds.
What are we talking about today?
Spock is alive in Picard, maybe.
Oh, yes, so there's 3 sources of the idea of the Hobus explosion. There's, 4, Stowe, The Countdown, The 09, and Picard. Unfortunately, Countdown comics, Picard, and Star Trek 09 don't count together. They all contradict. If you remove the Countdown comic, then the other 2 are confused. But if the Spock character doesn't come from our version of the universe in 09, then he is alive in the Picard universe, because what's talked about in Picard or talked about in 09 don't correspond, and therefore maybe they're not the same universe, and therefore he could be alive.
Yeah, because in the 09 Countdown, we had Data as captain of the Enterprise F. It was actually B4. Data's personality took in B4 and took over. And we had Ambassador Picard, not Admiral Picard, not retired Picard. So it's clearly a different thing.
And in 09, we had a surprise Hobus explosion, which it wasn't clear built a fleet.
Surprise!
Yep. And it was, so, yeah.
And Joe Cronin, the Joe Cronin Show, puts in $5. Spock is in the Kelvin timeline now.
Yep. Thanks for $5. We agree. Except not, but we do. He doesn't as much. Thanks, Donnie. Always said to the end.
The main focus of this was the 09 Countdown comic, and the Captain Data, Ambassador Picard, things like that are clearly different here. So that's kind of the.
So you can throw everything in that out, which removes all the backstory of 09, all the characterization, and it makes 09 hollow. Because remember, Kurtzman said we're basing a lot of this show on the Countdown comic, which is why based on is interesting. If it's based on, they can change stuff, which they obviously have, which means that the whole Spock thing, again, different universe, it could just be, different. Because if they could do that, and the Kelvin would be fixed. The year of the Kelvin.
Flox831 puts in $10.
Oh my god!
Thank you very much.
Woo!
My brain is aching from thinking about the theories. Great stuff. Very exciting to see next episode. What do you use to edit? I use Final Cut Pro. Thank you for all your effort, guys.
Premiere Pro. Thank you for $10. Is amazing. And Tenzingari says Hobus wasn't really a surprise. Nero warned the Romans. Nope, sorry, Tenzingari. That countdown's not comic. That countdown's not comic anymore. That comic's not canon anymore, Tenzingari. So you can no longer make the argument. It is gone. Sorry. That's part of the point of this.
StarMax puts in $5. I wonder what the Dominion and Klingon Empire are up to in the Picard timeline. I'm sure we'll hear something about the Klingons. At least the Dominion, it was a major war. I mean, you might hear some kind of... We'll see. I mean, know.
Just like the Cardassian war. Okay, not as major, obviously.
Yeah, not quite.
No. as border skirmishes, really. No, I mean, again, how we would write it is different. I mean, they want to be very focused on the new characters, on their new situation, on their little diddly ship, on their, I think we're gonna. I think the amount of references to canon is going to be less and less as we go on, as they get more focused on their own story. Which is fine. And a lot of people were saying, the political stuff in the first episode was less than was sort of touted. Hopefully there's a balance in this season. Because you and me don't really care about politics. We're not into that. And also politics comes and goes and changes. Ironically, whereas Star Trek the Star Trek ideals stay the same, being good to people and such. Politics and who runs the government always changes, and which laws change, and it's like I was fine with gay marriage before gay marriage was legal anywhere in the world, because Star Trek is everyone's the same. So I was well ahead of the curve for that. So if you base yourself on Star Trek principles, you know what I mean. At 3, if you'd said lesbians, I'd be like, okay, what? I mean, that's 3, but you know what I mean. So for that's why saying season 3 of Enterprise is the 9/11 analogy. It is, in the sense it was a catalyst for it, but you can't tell me that the Muslims are 7 races of different aliens, one of which are aquatic. Like, the parallels stopped very quickly. We were attacked, killed lots of people.
Yeah. Just the main incident.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like that. Then the rest is sci-fi.
Yeah.
So if the idea of the refugees is the start, but if you start getting to a Trumpian leader, if you start getting into these very literal things, if you get a guy or 2 guys, Boris and Trump, with very fluff, big hair that looks ridiculous, one on the Romulus side, one, what if the Federation president looks like Trump? And it's like, great.
We don't have to go off on this.
I'm just saying we don't want that. We just want canon and stories.
Good Star Trek.
Yeah.
Joe Cronin Show puts in another $10.
Oh my gosh.
The comic is not canon anymore, but the 2009 movie is. So Spock is alive in a Kelvin time, but Data as captain isn't real since it's comic. Maybe I'm late and missed the point. Sorry.
Well, Joe, go back about 5 minutes ago, and we were asked to summarize.
Or just go back to the beginning and watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about. 300 of you still here. Everybody make sure you hit that like button before you bug out. We're going to be closing it down now, I think. Unless we get any more super chats, but we did hit the $20 that Samuel asked for and more. So thank you.
Brilliant.
You guys are fantastic. And
And Manix36 Trek has always been about current events. When was it not? Was TNG Season 1 about current events? No. Like, there were little tiny things. But no. Was Voyager Season 5 about current events? No.
Certain stories were. They mirrored things in the world going on.
But they were so sci-fi over everything else.
Exactly.
They did about it's about being clever in your storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not literal.
Yeah.
Jarzia throws in $2 Canadian. Make Andoria great again. Jarzia, how dare you?
But Trekyards is always great, and you guys have supported it, and thanks so much. And so Stuart, what do you want to do tomorrow then? What are you up for? We have 2 videos coming out tomorrow, which is going to be good. But we're doing a live, obviously, before you do your first reaction on Thursday. So only one more live with both of us. Do you want to do the predictions live? Do you guys want to do the prediction live? What do you think, Stuart?
Well, tomorrow. Oh, I thought tomorrow was Thursday. Today's only Tuesday? Seriously?
Mm-hmm.
I was going the whole day thinking today was Wednesday. Good God. All right, well, we could do predictions, I guess.
Would you guys like to see our
episode 2?
Official predictions for season 2? We were going to do a video on them, but the fact is you guys might have amazing ideas. So,
And Joe Cronin Show puts in another $5. Thank you, Joe. Hopefully you're subscribed. You've helped us out quite a bit today. It's a new name that we see, so we'd love to have you click that subscribe button and the like button. But another $5.
Thank you.
I am annoyed that Trump is the Federation, basically, and we have another broken down hero and a super female character, but oh well. Yeah, you're not going to make everybody happy with what's going on in the show, but...
Just tell a good story. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We don't like drawing the politics into it because it's just we want to talk Star Trek.
And Ozzy Mendius, it's Wednesday for you, Commander. Still Tuesday, just about.
Yeah, I seriously, I thought it was Wednesday all day today. Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
So you were like, it's only Picard in one. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, what are we gonna do for live on the same day that the collection's
Nothing.
out? That's the
Because it comes
predictions would be
out.
good.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Thursdays are no, can't be a joint live. They're going to be a U live.
I thought it was Wednesday because I filmed a Captain Foley reviews video today. So yeah, my mind's all messed up.
Well, you were great yesterday
Anyway.
with filming, Stuart. On Monday.
Yesterday was Monday. Seriously?
Yesterday we filmed many episodes yesterday, Stuart.
I thought we did that over the course of 2 days for some reason. Yesterday I was that off. Last night I was so frustrated. It's a long story, but anyway. So I'm glad I have more of the week, I guess. But
yeah, you just had the weekend.
anyway.
Yeah. Cause it's funny because if we do predictions tomorrow, it'll only then be like 6 hours till the show comes out for Americans if you stay up. It's crazy. Yeah. It's weird. Although it has actually helped us because you had to watch it early and make notes, and actually it coming out early helped. Actually, I was surprised. I thought it was going to screw us, but it actually helped. So.
Yeah. Fleet Pass Swiftback with some $1.99. You're not the only one, Cap. I did too. I thought it was Wednesday all day today too. Sometimes you just get that feeling, you know.
I got a feeling, and I'm totally wrong. Just completely out of there. So yeah, so tomorrow predictions live. Sorry, Stuart. Thursday is your first reaction live, which was an absolute treat last week. People just loved that video, and it's already at 10,000 views. I mean, that's went really amazing. And Friday is the epic. The spoiler-free review didn't do too well, but we'll probably still make at least one more spoiler-free review. Then spoiler-filled edited review, which has already hit, I think, 12,000 views, which is a nice 22-ish minute video. And then at 10 p.m, probably for a longer live on Friday, the big one, the discussion, with a lot of pictures, a lot of discussion, and we get to start this discussion journey all over again.
There's more sub videos next week, so
yes!
If you're still here, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss anything.
We've got a lot of new people.
We've got a lot of new people here, and we really love seeing that, and just want those numbers to go up and up. So
we make it for you
Eugene
guys.
Throws in 250 rubles again. What if it's in the mirror universe? That'd be cool. It's not, but it would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, no one's evil enough for that.
Yeah.
Although one of my people are doing it is doing Mirrorverse book, and the balance of making them actually evil is very tricky because you can't practically do that. It's hard because everyone just can't try and kill each other. It doesn't really work. But that's okay. But anyway, Stuart, we've managed to accidentally hit the full 2 hours. Oops, or minus 10 minutes. And I guess I'll see you tomorrow, and you'll see me tomorrow, and we'll see us tomorrow, and you'll see us tomorrow, because I'm looking at us right now on the L car, so I'm going to look at us, and you're there too. You're both those places, and say goodbye, Stuart.
I almost wanted to say goodbye, Stuart, but I'm not going to. Say goodbye to everyone out there, all the new subscribers, all the new viewers. You guys are awesome. Make sure you subscribe. Tell other people about Trekyards and keep coming back. We got lots of cool stuff. So goodbye, guys, from Captain Foley.
Come on, Huggins. Bye, guys.